Hello and welcome to A Girl's Guide to Life, a digital diary podcast. I'm Maeve, your creator and host. Today it's just going to be an overall intro of what my goal here at A Girl's Guide is and a little bit about myself. So sit back, relax, grab a drink or a snack, and get ready. Welcome back. We're going to start our little intro here. Like I said a few seconds ago, I'm Maeve. I'm a first-year college student. I'm doing this podcast for one of my classes. It wasn't really something that I would have done without a little push, but we're here, so we'll see how it goes. I'm in my freshman year as a film major, which I think is very exciting. I didn't land on film until a little later than I probably should have, but that's okay. We all have to start somewhere, so I'm very new. More about me. I grew up in Connecticut, also Texas. I've lived in Texas for most of my life, but I claim the East Coast. If you're from the East Coast, you'd understand. I love reading. I love watching movies. I'm constantly watching a show, a movie, something. I'm always consuming media. Fun fact, if you play any Harry Styles or Phoebe Bridgers song, I can name it in the first 5 seconds. So that's a fun fact about me. I've spent most of my life writing and reading and creating and living in little worlds, but I've never really done anything with it. I guess this is my first time actually putting something out into the world, so this is very new. It's very weird. I don't know how I like it yet, but I hope you stick around. To preface the podcast a little bit, I am in a Women in Ethics Studies class this semester. I'm in an Intro to Social Justice, and we were tasked with a project at the beginning of the semester where we had to choose some sort of issue or topic that we would put forth in action to. We were given topic examples like poverty or just social justice in general, how we define it, and we could take it how far we wanted to. So I kind of thought about some of the stuff that we had talked about in the first week of class. We talked about intersectionality, and social constructs and identities. And I thought about all of the identities that I had, and kind of what actions or what I could do to uplift those identities. And I landed on my feminine identity. I think female and femme and women oppression was something that I had experienced a lot in my life already, as young as I am, and noticed a lot more when I finally moved away from home. And that's kind of how I landed on wanting to build a community for femme identifying individuals to kind of come and have a community. So that's a little bit of what inspired me to pick up a mic and sit in front of a camera. So I chose kind of the broad topic of femme oppression, gender bias, and the patriarchy, which are all things I'll talk about in the coming episodes. They kind of all have their own episode, but I will mention them throughout the whole podcast. And I chose femme oppression because it's something I experience, but it's also something that I can learn more about. I feel like to truly know something, you need to learn about it outside of just your experience. I am a white woman, I'm a plus-sized woman, but I need to hear and learn about other experiences, because to have a full understanding of a topic or an issue, you need to know as much as you can. And now you're probably asking, why a podcast though? You could have done a blog or literally anything else. You could have written a paper. I love the concept of a podcast, to kind of just like sit down and talk, whether it's informational or just a fun little thing, which who knows this podcast might turn into. I don't know. But I noticed how male dominated the podcast community was, which maybe isn't inherently a bad thing, but it's definitely noticeable. Like right now, if you were to open Spotify and go to the podcast page, 4 of the top 6 podcasts are hosted by men. It's also the day and age of like Andrew Tate and some not so great individuals, and I thought it would be kind of nice to try and cancel out some of the negative things that I've seen in the podcast community recently. I'm a pretty avid podcast listener. I wouldn't say I listen to podcasts like every day, but I definitely listen to them when I'm in the car or traveling. Shout out to Miss Emma Chamberlain. I love her podcast. She gave me the inspiration of filming in my bed and recording in my bed because it's a safe place for me. I can say anything here and, you know. But I look up to a lot of the female creators in the podcast, I think, more than I do so male creators, and I think it's because I can relate to them a little bit more. So I decided to make a femme-oriented podcast for anyone who might experience some sort of gender subordination, whether they identify as femme or not. I think this is a place where we can all share our experiences. So my mission here is to create a place where I can uplift other people's voices as well as my own. I feel like in society I've kind of been trained to be quiet and reserved and only speak when spoken to, and have these perfect qualities as a woman. And I think it's time that we start breaking out of that. Here I want to kind of challenge the things that society has taught me and put a new foot forward. I felt like the best way for me to do that was to look at this like an open diary. I had a lot of journals and a lot of diaries as a kid, but I never could quite fill them. I had a really hard time conceptualizing the idea of writing down all of my feelings for just myself, because I felt like I had to almost perform writing in my own private journal because someone was going to read it someday, or like someone was going to find it, and I needed to sound poetic or deep, and I needed to be real in this journal that was for myself. But all of these outside things made me think I had to be this perfect teenage girl in my diary, even though it was something for myself. So I kind of wanted to reclaim my diary experience, and that's when I came up with the idea of an open diary, and not just an open diary for myself, but for everyone else to add to. And that's where my listener submissions come in. I've had a few responses already to my Google form for the next episode, which is exciting because I really wanted to add other people's experiences and viewpoints to this podcast and not just regurgitate stuff from my textbook that I will have to reference, by the way, but, have other people tell their stories so that I can relate to them and you as a listener can relate to them as well. So I'm excited to feature some of my friends in this podcast. It's going to be really fun. But my main goal is to just create this place where everyone feels comfortable to just come and listen or to join in on the conversation. Whatever you feel comfortable to do, this is your community. Like I mentioned previously, this is a project. There are some things I'm going to have to do, like I have to meet a 20-minute mark. I have to cite and quote some things from my textbook, which I'm very excited to do because I read a lot of kind of eye-opening things this semester. So you will hear me quoting from a textbook, but I will not just be citing things the whole podcast, I promise. I will make it conversational and hopefully fun to listen to. Yeah. I also want to point out, yes, I am recording from my bed, like I mentioned earlier. I think I just really needed to make myself comfortable because my friends will say I speak a lot, I talk a lot, but when there's pressure to talk in front of more than just the people I know, I'm very nervous. So I wanted to make myself the most comfortable as I could. For the viewers on YouTube, you can see on your screen that I have a plethora of plushies and stuffed animals. I have a little Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I have a Grogu, and I have my emotional support bear that I have had like since I was maybe 2. This is to help me. I hope you get a little kick out of it too. I will have my little audience in bed with me. I'm comfortable in this space, so I'm excited to kind of bring y'all into my space and make us all feel comfortable. Maybe you'll see Spider-Man on your screen and just feel a little safer. So that was the goal for myself. Hopefully it'll help someone else as well. But we will be here 3 more times, as far as I know. And I hope to see you again. I hope to see you all 4 times. That would be great. But to kind of wrap up here, I went through kind of my mission here, which was to create a community for femme-aligning individuals, where I'm going to talk about some of the things that we encounter in life, in everyday life, just mostly focused around the femme experience. I will be defining some terms for us in our conversations, pointing out some patterns within our experience. All in all, I aim to be an inclusive and interactive community. I want you all to reach out if you need to. You can submit your submissions. I will have them posted on Twitter. I have an Instagram. I might even be able to do community posts in YouTube. I'm not sure yet. I will have the YouTube channel, and hopefully these will also be uploaded to Spotify. We will see. I'm having a little bit of trouble, but we'll make it work. Anyway, this is inclusive and interactive, so feel free to participate in any way. Leave comments, leave messages, DM me if you ever want to be added to the conversation, because this is your conversation, this is your community. I hope you join us, whether you are femme-aligning and you feel like you want to be in this community, or you're kind of on the outside and you just want to hear about these experiences and learn. I 100% encourage you to stay and see it out. Whether you are femme or not, I hope you feel welcomed and safe in this space. And I hope to see you again. I keep saying that, but I really hope I see you again. As of right now, the social media I'm most active on is my Twitter, and I'm going to read it off of my screen here so I don't get it wrong. It is at Girls Guide Pod, which is at GIRLSGUIDEPOD on Twitter. And you can follow that. There's a link there where you can submit for the first episode, but I might have it closed by the time this goes up. So hopefully the next episode's conversation submissions are there. But that is all I have for you today. I hope you join me, and I hope you stick with us and see this through and hear us out. But thank you so much for your time. I hope I see you again. I'm very excited to share this community with you. Unfortunately, I don't have an outro yet. I've been toying with ideas. My first one was Don't Be a Stranger, as a cute little sign off because I always felt a stranger in my own experience. Whether it was in my journaling, like I mentioned before, or just feeling kind of like an outsider in the overall femme experience, I've always kind of felt like a stranger. So that was my first idea of just like, hey, see you later, don't be a stranger. It's also like a kind of a southern thing. A lot of people are like, hey, see you again, don't be a stranger. Haha. um, but I toyed with that. I also just toyed with like being like, this is Maeve signing off. But I feel like that's a little cheesy. So we'll work it out as we go. Leave comments, suggestions, what you think the sign off should be. Um, but for right now, I will just leave you with a goodbye, and I hope I see you again.